Welcome to the Start With Heart podcast, brought to you by The Collective. I'm the CEO of The Collective, Brad Stinson. We are honored to have with us today entrepreneur, mission mover, real estate mogul, fitness queen, servant leader, CEO of Ariel, and all-around Wonder Woman, Britnie Turner.
Man, I like that intro. It's a good one.
Done a lot of things. So thank you for joining us today. This is awesome. So how I usually get started is actually I go to the name of the podcast. And so I say, when we say Start With Heart, what's the first thing that comes to your mind is all the things that you've done? What's Start With Heart mean to you?
Start With Heart is, I love the name, by the way.
Thank
Good
you.
job
Awesome.
on that.
Thank you.
It's why I started all of these businesses. It's what started this crazy journey. I wanted to be missionary from the time I was 12.
Awesome.
And I saved up. I worked 5 jobs at a time so I could go on these mission trips every summer. And I felt horrible because I was like super pissed off every time I went on these mission trips. I'm like,
please tell.
You're not supposed to be pissed on mission trips. That's not holy. But I was so frustrated because I started being exposed to these, life and death emergency issues of just extreme poverty, starvation, and no opportunity. And I'd go there and feed kids for the day, or we'd build them a little something, and my frustration was around, I knew that they'd be hungry tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Or I knew that they would still be sexually abused later because it's socially acceptable. And so I want to encourage all of you, if you're frustrated, it's because God might be giving you a vision of a higher standard. You can sit around and complain about things, or you can realize there's something different. And if I'm noticing something's wrong, how do I bridge that gap? And so for me, I never planned on being in business. It actually was at my most frustrated point where I met a little girl that was sexually abused so bad that she couldn't speak because her vocal cords were destroyed as an infant. And it'll make you sick. And when you see things you can't unsee, and you realize just based on where I live alone, if I tried it all, I could create opportunity for her. And I could have been her, you know? Sure. And so here we are. Ariel means keep the big picture in mind. And so every company formed underneath the Ariel brand is started with heart. How do we address social issues? How do we mindfully revitalize the urban core? How do we, really the heart is to create hope in the hopeless areas. And there's 2 different main attacks, quote unquote, for us. It's real estate development, changing the physical landscape and attracting investment to bring jobs, to wipe out poverty at its root, and then changing that internet landscape to share what does work and continue to put energy there. And so that's Ariel produced.
Awesome. I love it. And so with all that, you've done just so much in your career. You built so many amazing companies. Can you just, give a little background, give as much as you can around the Ariel brand, all the things that you're doing with it, just so we can have, what's that look like to build something when you had that gap? Like, what was that gap? And then you created this, and then a bunch of things came out of it. And I just want people to know what you do and how to support it and all that. And we'll get to that, but just share on that. That would just be so helpful for all of us to hear.
Well, I would love to say I'm just this extraordinary visionary genius. But I will tell you that this has all been a cluster of shambles and a mess of trying to figure it out, but being dedicated to figuring it out. Taking that passion and flopping through life until it works. Sure. And so don't think because honestly, I wouldn't even say that I'm a visionary. I'd say that I'm a frustrated person that turns into businesses. And that's been my gift. I don't let that anger drive me. I'm like, there's a reason there's something missed. And so it started with just the original intent of flipping some houses to have chunks of money to buy some apartment complexes so I'd have the cash flow to go be able to build orphanages on my own. Because I knew I would always live in Africa. I always knew that. And I planned on being that woman in the village, just helping babies medically. Yeah. But I was like, maybe I could have some firepower when I had this horrible dream of some child I rescued dying in my arms because the sponsorship check didn't come in. Wow. And me being scared that I didn't have enough resources to be able to save that life was screw it, I'm gonna make my own freaking money. Okay. And so that's when I just thought I would be flipping houses into moving over to Africa. But in the process of actually learning development and learning how you can change the perception of cities and then get people to believe it and get that investment back in there, honestly, a lot of the bigger picture came from going back and forth to Africa. Sure. And seeing that everything that I was learning were the transferable skills that could make a bigger difference. And when we were developing an orphanage out in like the worst area of Kenya, nobody believed in it. Again, they're selling their kids for $25 because there's no opportunity. After we got it under contract and just started barely doing the site work, I came back and the whole area, the whole community was like a booming economy. I was like, what the heck's going on? I realized that because the locals had seen that that we were investing in this area, we were building an orphanage.
Sure.
They were like, well, there must be something that we're missing. And so they came and built all these businesses around our orphanage. And that's when everybody became wealthy. So instead of needing handouts, they could all afford it because of all the jobs that moved in, and they didn't have to sell their kids anymore. And so that's when it hit me that real estate development can spark enough interest to create that opportunity. Because my prayer, ever since I met that little girl that couldn't speak, has been, God, how do we wipe out poverty at its root? How do we end human trafficking at its root? I know that we need to have a multi-attack on like treating it topically and like just dealing with the wounds, but also how do we wipe it out so it's no longer an issue? Yeah. And so that's really what, honestly, why my businesses exist. It's not actually about making money. I am on a mission to learn, and these are my ways of practicing. Yeah. And so I make very different business decisions because I want a template. How do you create the template for radical transformation? What would take a country 50 years, how do you do it in 5? Awesome. And totally transform what's possible for people everywhere.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's the
good.
underlying mission of what we're doing.
No, that's
I know it's a weird way to go about it, but it's fun.
It's good. It's the burden. It's the want to
It's
hey,
like
I can
missions 2.5.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. So what are maybe some of the common misunderstandings or myths when you're trying to go help that little girl, help these people in poverty? Like, what are some of those myths or like just misunderstandings people might have about doing that, or what you found through maybe your journey and going, you know what, we just built a home and then commerce people came around and like, oh my gosh, we come back and look at this. Like, what are some of those things that might be people going, like, what are some of those things that maybe you found out along the way?
There's probably 2 different myths that I would like to bust around this. I mean, depending on what your background is, like I thought it was horrible to have money. I thought that rich people were evil. Like it was what was in my brain because I just grew up with nothing. Sure. And I don't know if it's Disney or what, but it was like the bad guy was always the rich guy. But to realize that, for one, money is an expansion tool of whatever it touches. It's stupid freaking paper. Who cares? So just get it, play the game, and like have those resources to be able to help more people. And if you're going to raise your hand and tell God that I want to do more with my life, use me to do big things, then you need it. And so, and God will take you on your own little journey of making sure it doesn't own you. I had that burned off really early on. So I think that's number 1. And number 2 is like, if you come from nothing, when you start making money, you'll want to give it all away, and it's going to sound holy. And so you have to challenge yourself when you're building a business to give proportionally. And then also, I would allow your staff to be in on that and let them see the impact you can make if we grow and scale. Yeah. And so the more, like for example, for every single house that we build, we sponsor an orphan in the name of that home buyer for a year. And I just left a buyer in the other room. He cried. Oh my gosh, he was so cute. That's awesome. When I told him about this, I was like, because of you buying this house, a little baby who's living in a garbage heap that's in a sexually abusive environment now has a safe place to live, food, shelter, education, and is having its mind retrained that it can be a leader of their country instead of just like, you'll never have anything. Wow. So it's like, it was a really beautiful thing to let my buyers be part of what the good we're doing in the world, and for people to realize the more successful we are, the more we can help people. And so
one of my mentors always says, it's margin and mission. It's not like one or the other, and you have to be able to do both, at that time. So one of the questions that 3 questions that I love to ask is, what makes your heart beat the most?
The most?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what? It's probably very similar to yours.
Okay.
my heart beats when people find their purpose. And so I feel like I can help exponentially change the world if I can help you find why you wake up in the morning and then also keep you on track. Because depression, anxiety, fear, all the BS is meant to keep us asleep and afraid and in ourselves. But if I can help you figure out what matters and then build businesses, a life, and a brand around that, then it can get big, 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 big. So that's what's fun about Ariel Produced, is we're super freaking picky on who we work with, because we know that media is an expansion tool for your voice.
Sure.
And you can reach the one-on-one person, or you can reach billions, depending on what you put on the internet. We're very blessed to live in today's world. So our clients, if they're not honestly even changing the world in the way that we want to see it changed, because we're picky, I'm like, why? I own the company, I can say whatever I want.
Sure.
If they're not, ending human trafficking, ending poverty, ending gang life, or there's a whole cool filter that we have. If they're not doing something that we want to promote in the world, then we don't need to spend the time on it.
Sure.
I make money in all my companies. This one doesn't have to be the $1 billion one. That it probably will be, honestly, which is funny. But
isn't it the one?
But being really picky, a lot of people, you'll never make money that way. But being so different and caring the way that we care, and knowing that I can find your heart and I can expand it and build people around you that will support you in your business, because we know how to talk about what you really want to do. It's crazy the kind of clients that we've been able to get, because nobody is filtering themselves into that niche. They're afraid of it.
Sure. That's good. And you being able to go through it, because I tell everybody it's, we teach like a path to purpose, right? And purpose isn't the top of the mountain. Purpose is the bottom of the mountain and helping somebody else climb theirs. And that's where purpose lies,
I
right?
love it.
So what makes your heart break the most?
Oh, man. What makes my heart break? So many things. So many things. I'm such a deep feeler. It would almost be the opposite. It's like to see people who are just functioning and they're just running away all the time, like they're getting lost in alcohol or Instagram or a boy or whatever it is, because they're just living from moment to moment to moment. And it's like, it doesn't, like, why? So my favorite, bar question. Don't go to a bar with me, because I will.
We're going to a bar.
It is. I will ask you the deepest question in the world. Like, somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, I'm like, why do you exist? Tell me your purpose in life.
Wait, I'm doing the interview here.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how, I don't know if you want to use the word asleep or not, but how few questions people ask themselves. The questions that matter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what else are you doing with your life? But, I had a really profound experience when I was 17. I was actually forced in a class, my missionary training class, to write my eulogy. Wow. And I was just a goofball before that. I mean, I was always like, I care about God and I care about kids and stuff. But until I was forced to write that, and it's like, you recognize how short your life is in that moment. When I wrote it and I realized all the things I want said about me, I'm not on track to have said about me. It was such a wake up that ever since then, I've been really focused on every day making sure that those statements will be true. And so it's like, when you're finding your purpose, that's the first thing I tell people to do, because it's the biggest filter. It's the only thing guaranteed in your life, is that you will die.
Born, taxes, die.
And it's a really amazing filter of what matters and what doesn't.
Sure.
And so it just helps you focus. And if you can focus, you can get a lot done.
Sure. Everybody's leaving a legacy. It's just which one you're leaving.
Yeah.
So so the third question, heartbeat, heartbreak. What difference you're making a difference in the world, but what difference do you want to make in the world? If you had to sum it up into a couple thoughts and sentences, what's that difference? What is that?
I think it would be trying to describe the feeling I had when I met that girl. It was she had complete hopelessness in a way that I'd never seen before, like a lost, sad scaredness in her eyes that I'd never witnessed. And it was like, I'm proud of myself for getting through this without crying. Yeah. I realized I can make a way. Yeah. I can do something about that. And if I don't try, then I'm almost accountable to that. I'm accountable for that. I know, like, we're good enough for God now, but it's like, why not try?
Sure.
It's not like my value is tied to doing that thing, but it's, Why would I not? What else freaking matters? What am I going to buy? A boat? Like, who cares?
Yep.
What a fun life to be able to solve these big things. And so I think, what was your question? One more time.
Difference. You're saying it.
The difference
Yeah.
I want to, okay, the difference I want to make, I want to create opportunity for those who have none. I really want to bridge, all right, I feel like I'm an undercover person in like, this is so weird to say out loud, but in rich people world, like, all right, I'm going to go sneak in, learn all the cool stuff on what it takes to be able to pull yourself out of bad situations, basically distill down all their secrets and then share them and then create programs that are hand up, not hand out.
Yeah.
And so I learn everything I can get my hands on. I read tons of audiobooks. I hang out with wealthy people, and I'm just basically learning their secrets so that I can share them and make them really simple.
Yeah.
Because it's just like learning
awesome.
guitar, you can learn money. And it's way harder to learn guitar.
So trying to at least like create that level playing field no matter
Yeah.
what's in the bank account.
At least educationally.
Yep.
How do we
Right.
distill their secrets down and share them, but also create the hand up programs? What really works?
Sure.
So instead of just, again, money's an expansion tool. If you throw it at poverty, it's going to expand it. So how do we do something else?
Yeah. Teach it and become the disciple.
Yeah.
Teach them how to do it down there. Be with them. Don't just be the person that just gives the money. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you some pictures.
Oh.
Okay. All right. And I'll describe them as we talk. And here's what I want. Most people say, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I want you to let it pass through your mind. I want to say, what's the first thing that comes to your heart?
Okay.
So take that breath when you
right.
think the first thing and take a pause. And then, so what I've seen when I'm, following you on Instagram is you like whiteboards.
I do like whiteboards.
I love whiteboards.
Kind of a whiteboard addict.
Yes. I wish like my walls in my new house. My wife's like, you're not doing that. I said, yes, I am.
I have one in my house.
Yeah, I will have one in my house. So when you see this, what's the first thing that comes to your heart? And it's a picture of somebody at the whiteboard.
Okay, what
Yeah.
happened? Oh, it's the ability to process externally and get clear. Everything's about clarity. The clearer you can be, as at the same time as being flexible to realize you don't know everything, then the more you can accomplish. I mean, to me, a whiteboard is a picture of the journey.
Yeah.
And I think one of our big successes as Ariel, as a company and as a person, is having that grace of saying, God is only going to give me one piece of the puzzle at a time. Why in the world? He's not going to give me that whole picture. Because he told me this earlier on. He said, if I gave you the whole picture of what you are capable of through me, you would never, ever believe it.
Yeah.
And, oh, I'm going to cry. Okay.
It's okay.
You'd never believe it. And so you'd never even take the first step. And so it's a fun, instead of getting stressed out that you don't know everything, just realize he's so good. I think that's been probably the biggest shift in my life, is not being stressed that I don't know it all. And instead of being like, oh, I'm overwhelmed because I don't have all the pieces figured out, it's like, he's such, oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is such a beautiful, perfect God, and his timing is so perfect too. He knows people's hearts, and it's like, even when you thought people would be on that journey with you, and they abandoned ship for whatever reason, instead of getting upset, realize like, God knows hearts, and he will know what would have happened 20 years from now. And so it's like all of my like upsetness, because honestly, this is a hard business. All of this is hard.
Yeah.
Has turned into a gratitude of like, thank you, Lord, for the whiteboard. Thank you, Lord, for the journey. Thank you for never leaving me or forsaking me. And just, he's just so freaking good. It's like, makes everything so much more perfect than you could have ever imagined.
Yep.
And just have that inside and remember it. Man, this is coming out of nowhere, but
No, it's good.
it's gratitude.
The great thing is that a lot of people don't know this, is that when he grabs your heart, it's impossible, for you to do anything, because he gives you the lamp, not the spotlight, right? And in the Bible, other than Father, Lord, and Jesus, the fourth most used word is heart. In all of the Bible. He says it over 400 times. And because of that focus, it's because when you go there, it means so much more, and that's all he wants from us, is for us to give him our heart.
Right.
So, good stuff.
It's good. that's what's happening. Maybe I've really done that lately. You say you do, until you've been through freaking hell. You probably won't understand. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I had a lot of hard times in this journey, and now the big things he's telling me is don't curse it, don't say that it was a waste, don't get upset that you spent so much time doing something, call it back for redemption. Ask me to say, why did I let you go through that? What will it do 4 years from now that you don't know that if you hadn't done that thing, then all this wouldn't have happened?
I mean, look at Joseph. Joseph was number 2 in the world. And then, you know, he talked to the dude's wife. He sent him to jail for 20 years. You know, he learned patience here. He learned humbled here. He learned how to persevere here. And then he learned how to be number 2 in the world because he had to go through all these things so when God would prepare him to do that.
Amen.
So.
Amen. Don't curse the preparation.
Not at all.
You don't have to know it all.
Yep. All right, picture of the islands.
Yeah.
Yes. So what comes to your heart, not to your mind?
It comes to my heart when I see that. It's honestly, it's redemption.
Awesome.
I am buying a property over there, and I'd been working on it since before the hurricane, so I'd actually lived in BVI half of the year in 2017, and I've made more friends weirdly there than I do have here. I think you're just outdoors and you really get to bond with people, and they're just the best people ever. And so after the hurricanes, I actually went down there with a backpack on, had no idea there was no communication, and I took 2 people with me, and the only 2 people brave enough to go. And we didn't even have a flight. We just went to Puerto Rico, and we're like, we'll figure it out.
Wow.
And we planned to backpack in and find my friends' bodies because we thought everybody was dead. It was so sad and so scary. And so when I see BVI, I realize, again, it's really everything I just talked about, because I wanted to buy that property before the hurricane. And had I bought it before, I would have been with the wrong people, and I would have been so in trouble after that hurricane. I still want to buy it, but the timing, you know, I was really, really upset with God right before the timing. And now I actually lost it right after the hurricane. And I got to spend 1.5 years listening to God when it didn't make any sense to humans. Like, why would you go to BVI? It's not even America. Why would you go over there? You don't own property. Why would you spend so much money telling their story and allowing people to come in and be part of the recovery process? It's so stupid. And I did feel stupid. Like, why are you spending this much time doing this when a lot of times it was thankless? And the whole journey has been the greatest redemption story of all time. And
awesome.
I got to capture, I'll never forget so much that people taught me is like they lost everything and they were finding joy outside of their stuff, outside of their situation. And then they have the opportunity to be better on the other side of the storm. And we documented that and turned it into a web series so that other countries can learn from what the BVI went through and create that exponential change in their life. So
that's so awesome.
So that's for me, it's how can you be better and stronger on the other side of what looks like the worst thing that could ever happen to you? And so I love BVI.
Yep, I love that you see the importance of video too, right? And you say, let's tell the story through video. You know, my video guys, they're like, you know, 80% of consumption on the internet is going to be through video by the end of this year. And so it's like, you're doing something right. So please keep telling the story.
I appreciate
it's awesome.
that. Thanks.
What's that?
That is us feeding kids right after the storm. So there was an amazing restaurant owner who lost his restaurant and lost his house and his family. His wife was pregnant, like 9 months pregnant, and they hid in a cistern, which is a giant water container. He drained it and they jumped in and hid inside it and they lost their everything. So it's very good that they did.
Yeah, it's like
9 months pregnant
Yeah.
wife and his 2-year-old son. And instead of like running away to London, he sent his family off and he used all the food and all of his everything to cook for like 200 families a day for like 180 days. It was amazing. He just so we found him on the street. We kept hearing about this guy and we were interviewing him and we just jumped in and got to help him for a while. But it's people like that. Like again, he in his video interview with us, he said, nobody has any time, so you make time for what matters. And it was something that I've been applying. You know, it takes extreme loss for a lot of people to be able to recognize, spend your time with what really does matter instead of running away. And I think after my situation and around this whole journey, that's probably my best thing. Like,
Sure.
There's 6 kids in my family. I'm at the most important events. I'm there. I'm the person you call. It doesn't matter if I have 5 companies and a nonprofit and I'm in and out of the country and I'm speaking whatever. They all know if anything happens, like, I'm the first person there, not the last. I'm the first person there. And I love that reputation because they matter.
That's awesome. Wow, can we learn someplace and just down there? All right, pretty powerful picture there.
Oh, hey.
Yes, that's Ray and Miss Branson.
Yeah.
What goes to your heart when you see that?
What goes to my heart is
Yeah.
this girl right here, Fiona.
Yeah.
She has been a dear friend of mine since like 2014, and she puts on trips to Necker. And she's been there for me more than almost anybody in my life.
That's awesome.
So there's 2 famous guys right there, but it's this
she's
girl.
Cool. I
who
was going to
has
ask
been
who
there
that
the
was.
most. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
She's
awesome.
actually in the office right next door.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
she's awesome. Oh, my team.
Yes, picture of your team.
Picture of the team.
Yeah.
That reminds me, from my heart, okay, my
Yeah,
heart response is I'm really happy that everybody here knows they have a voice. I think a lot of people, that's probably my top feedback is wherever I just came from, blah, blah, will express ideas, but they don't care. They don't care. And I'm like, you are building this company. I have never done anything that I'm doing ever, every day. I'm making it up. And so, and I'm pretty
Me too.
transparent with them and I'm not a good leader way. I'm a good leader because I'm willing to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not a good leader because I know the answer. But
It's great
even
advice.
Aerial Produce is very, very, young women in their 20s. It just happens to be who we have. Like young 20. I don't think anybody's over 25 right now. And they're doing some of the top brands in the world
amazing.
as a 1-year-old company. And so
awesome.
it's really fun that I think every single one of those young women know their voices very powerfully heard, and they're helping develop this business as we build it. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, look, because that's what this picture reminds me of too. The day that I stop pushing you past your comfort zone is the day I stopped believing in you. My job is to make you uncomfortable, and if you're not good with that environment, then find another job because you will not make it here.
Yep, that's awesome. I love it. And then finally,
My family.
the crew.
My family. Yeah,
What comes to your heart?
You know what? My mom. She is such an incredible prayer warrior, and she has sacrificed so much to make sure that we had a good life. And she homeschooled all 6 kids.
Wow.
Same parents, all 6 kids, grew up on a farm. And she homeschooled us so that we wouldn't be, our mindset wouldn't be destroyed by, bad culture or whatever. So I was definitely sheltered. But in that too, she trained our minds to make our own cool, which you see showing up in all of our companies. Almost all the kids are entrepreneurs too, which is kind of weird, but
or
fun.
awesome.
But instead of being told what cool is or what to be, we just go say what cool is.
Yeah.
And for me, I then build a marketing campaign around it. What is
Let's
cool?
go.
Where is the
Yeah,
cool area? Why? Yeah, this should be the next best area. Why? Because we're on the park. Nobody lives on the park. I'm like, people live on the park. People don't like the river. Yes, they should.
Yeah.
I don't listen to what people tell me should be a certain way. I use basically God ideas and then turn them into companies. And so, but that confidence came from my mom saying, look, you make your own cool, you set this, and then just like building a whole world. I just think really different than a lot of people. I'm not looking to others to tell me who I am. I'm just looking to God or whatever I want it to be.
Sure.
So I think that's what I see when I see this picture. I see 6 incredibly strong kids because of great parents that worked their butt off to create that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, a couple more.
I was totally unprepared for these pictures, by the way. Sorry. Cry over all.
Sorry. So what do you think is, as you're creating these brands, and not so much the brands and stuff, but just maybe the biggest threat or obstacle that's living and thinking from kind of the things that you're trying to actually get rid of or help? What are some of the biggest obstacles and threats that maybe people listening and people thinking like, man, how can I even help? What is that? What are some of the threats that can be, that you say, hey, this is how you can just easily help? It might be where they are. It might not be BBI, it might be where they are. What are some of the biggest obstacles and threats you think are from where you sit?
Holding us back from doing them?
Yeah.
Obstacles and threats. I guess I'll give a general answer for not just us,
Sure.
but for people who want to do purpose-driven companies or do big things in life, it's
Sure.
definitely cash flow.
Yeah.
And so that's why giving proportionally is really awesome. And I do wish I had started my nonprofit earlier.
Okay.
What's nice is, we've got all these different Ariel companies underneath the Ariel brand. And as we're successful and we give proportionally, that money should just automatically go into that nonprofit.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. It's automatic. You don't look at it. It's kind of like giving your 10%.
Yep.
And then that pool fills up, and then you can go do big things.
Sure.
If you don't have like a system set up to do that, especially as a startup, you're always cash hungry, especially in real estate. Guys, this thing sucks cash.
Yes.
But it can make a lot, but it can
can.
suck it away in
Yeah.
a day. So,
Yep.
so having those triggers set up with your accounting team to automatically give is the way I wish I would have done it, because every time I did give, when I had team members that weren't so aligned in the mission, they'd always get on me, oh, you're hurting the company for giving. And I'm like, that's why we exist. And so in order to not have that argument, I recommend having some kind of a system set up for that. And so for us, other threats, I mean, we formed Ariel Global Community. To be honest with you, I actually don't like nonprofits. I know.
Oh, man.
I don't like nonprofits. I like everything to make money and feed itself. I don't like asking to, and I don't think it's pride, but it's pride. No. I don't know what it is. I just want everything to be self-sustainable. That's just like one of my big core values. And so as a nonprofit, all we are is basically, it's a community of dreamers, donors, and doers that come together to get ish done and do good in the world. And so we'll literally sit in an inspiring location and have whiteboards, of course, non-negotiable. And we'll say, what are the social issues that we want to tackle this world? Is it helping to end human trafficking? Is it creating jobs in a hopeless economy? Is it revitalizing an area? Is it telling the story of the BVI? Whatever it is.
Sure.
And then, so we dream it, and then we fund it, and then we do it. And not everybody has the same job, but we can come together with aligned passions and do things. And a lot of times what we've done is we'll find organizations in whatever country we're in, and we empowered those. Instead of going and reinventing the wheel or making our own, we'll just supercharge what is working.
Align there. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
awesome.
want to do that in Haiti so bad, because there's so much
There is. I have a bunch
so much
of
need
friends down there.
and
Yep.
so many people wanting to help, but they're so disorganized.
It's tough
If we
down
can
there.
organize the help, then we can really get more things done. So
Awesome. That's great. So how do you recharge your heart and keep yourself going? How do you recharge?
how do I recharge? Oh my gosh. I recharge my heart, I think, I do so many things. I'm so blessed to be able to stay inspired. You know that little tagline that was "Stay in school, it pays"? I've got "Stay
did.
inspired, it pays."
Oh, cool.
It really does. But spending time with people just one-on-one and hearing their heart. Oh, all right, this is going to sound so weird, but like on nights or weekends, I'll do an entire whiteboarding session with somebody and help them find their purpose in life.
That's awesome.
And it'll take 6 hours, and I've got a whole little thing I do. And that just brings me to life. And they're like, Britnie, this is your nights and weekends. And I'm like, but there's nothing more fulfilling than resetting somebody on this track. And then, especially with people who are suicidal
Yeah, sure.
or whatever. I mean, they're suicidal because they don't have a vision of a future.
Yep.
And
Hope.
I'm pretty sure we've all dealt with that. If not, I'm confessing, because this is a thing. It's not weird. Everybody has those thoughts, but it's because you lost your vision. So how can I help somebody come back to their vision by just coming up with some whiteboarding steps? And so that's honestly how I stay on track. But I have a really great team around me. It's taken 10 years to have the right freaking team. Oh my gosh, that's the hardest part.
No, it's true.
And so having a aligned vision where people aren't arguing with you on your reasons why you make purpose-led decisions. I think that's one of the hardest things is when you're doing a company like this, everybody says it won't work. Everybody. Thank God I've got such a track record of success now.
There you go.
And I look like a genius, but it took so many years of everybody saying, I didn't have anybody, mentors, nothing.
Wow.
And so just staying the course, and I think about Noah a lot. Not to I don't normally use Bible references, I just don't, but
It's okay.
but I think about how stupid he probably felt.
Oh, yeah.
all the time. And I'm like, my gosh, he probably felt like an idiot for so many years. He's that crazy guy building this giant boat for 100 and whatever years.
Sure.
And I'm like, ugh. So honestly, he encourages me so much.
That's awesome.
He listened to God and saved humanity. I should probably listen to God too. And
You need to go
willing
to
write it
the
out.
Ark experience up in Cincinnati. Have you been there?
No.
It's the real Noah Ark. Like, it's the same size and
What?
everything, just outside of Cincinnati. I
That's
took my
cool.
kids there.
Is it humongous?
It's the size of it. It's huge.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have some fun. All right?
Okay.
Little Joe, we're going to shift a little bit. All right, we're going to do kind of a rapid fire, and I want you to give me some answers. All right?
Okay.
Ready? All right, first, and
Surprises.
this is very important.
Yeah.
Favorite cereal?
Favorite cereal, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
If you were a superhero, you would be?
For sure, Wonder Woman. Of
Okay,
course.
just I thought so.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Are you a lark or an owl, morning or night?
Definitely no.
Book or a podcast?
Audiobook.
Ooh, wow. We see what she did there.
Yeah.
Rebel. All right, high five or a hug?
Hug. I'm horrible at high-fiving.
I think I know this one. European vacation or tropical island getaway?
For sure, tropical
Yeah,
island.
I don't know why. I'm like,
Yeah.
we always ask
Same
everybody.
there.
All right, if you have 5 minutes to spare, do you text or do you call?
Text.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Ooh,
I call my mom every 5 minutes I have to spare.
so you
Call
call.
her like 4 times a day.
All right.
She's so great. Gotta go. Like, she's
Help.
so great.
Yeah.
Hey, mom. Brrr. Love you. Bye.
All right, so
It's good.
So we want to have some fun there, just kind of at the end. But what I want the people here, obviously listening, is how do they, get a hold of you? I know you do some speaking. You do all. They can maybe give to the nonprofit. Like, what can they do to get a hold of you? Any things that they can do to learn more about you guys? What does that look like? Just let us know like what that is, so we can share with the listeners.
Depending on how you want to get involved, first of all, thank you. That's a huge honor. That's a big deal. Your time is the most important thing in the world. And thanks for believing in this. Let's do it together. Instagram, very active on Instagram. It's at Britnie Turner. Britney spelled all jacked up. I'm sure you'll have it on here. Mom and Dad thought they made that up. No. But anyway, also very active on YouTube. We've got podcasts. And then I just started doing one-on-one coaching.
Cool. Awesome.
Very, very, very small group allowed for that, because look, we're going to get your life in order, and we're going to build businesses and brands to make you insanely effective.
Awesome.
So just started doing that. And is there anything else I'm thinking of? Oh, BritnieTurner.com is also how you can find the coaching, which is great. Thanks.
That's good.
I appreciate it. But love Instagram. We're very, very active on there.
Yes, awesome. All right, so last question. This is it. If people want to start with their heart, what is your last piece of advice that you give them?
Write your eulogy and do it in 15 minutes.
Awesome.
What do you want them to say? It's your clarifier.
Great. I'm going to do that.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Britnie, for the time. Thank you for meeting with us today. We learned so much about you. We love everything that you're doing. My name is Brad Stinson. I'm the CEO of The Collective. We out.